In 1996, I did a painting called The Last Lion, and it was a very emotive subject in the sense that the lion was the creator, the angel was the creator and the guardian of the lion species. And what you were looking at was, this was the last lion on earth. And you could see by the look on her face what a horrible dilemma this was for her. And it was an emotional subject and a very intimate subject, not the type of thing that you would normally want to make into a sculpture. A sculpture is most successful when it's dynamic, it has action. To have something this intimate with the emotional content made it somewhat problematic. But when I did this drawing, and the reason I'm standing here holding the drawing is that so you can clearly see the problems that happen between a two-dimensional image and a three-dimensional result. Here you have basically a sketch, so nothing is clearly defined. It's two-dimensional, so we don't know what's happening on the back side, on the right side. We only have one view, and that's from here. But in a sculpture, you have to be able to walk around it, and it needs to be successful compositionally, visually, in the round. So the translation between this, and perhaps there will be other drawings that I will show you that we will be applying to sculptures in the future to give you some sense of the difficulty of translation between this and this. The original model for this, we started small and about 23 inches, and now we're at a 3/4 life-size piece. The thing that is interesting with sculpture when they get close to human size is that there is an emotional connection. When it's much smaller, it's decorative, you walk around it, it can be pleasing or not compositionally, but when it gets to this size, something very interesting happens. You're looking in the face of an angel, almost human size. The lion has a presence and a power, so to pull it off and make it a successful sculpture was something that I really had my doubts about. But here it is. It's finished. You see where it started. You see how it ended up. Then you can judge for yourself if the emotional content is there, the impact of the original concept is there. The interesting thing about making a sculpture from two-dimensional sketches is that the position, the most interesting position of this sculpture was in the sketch was here. You have the profile of the lion and you have her face, and you can see the emotion on her face. The thing is, in a three-dimensional sculpture, what's happening here behind? In the sketch, there is the drapery, there's implied nudity. How far do you want to go? Is she completely nude behind, or do you want to bring the drapes around? And these decisions create the composition that makes it a successful sculpture if you make the right decisions when you put the piece together. Of course, there's another element, and that is the patinas, or the colors, that we are using on these new sculptures. This, in many ways, has a classical formula in terms of the composition of the piece. But when you add patinas that are lighter with color references, she becomes something else. And it's an interesting almost contradiction between the classical formula of the piece and the contemporary coloring of the piece. This last year, we selected 5 drawings that we hoped that we could turn into sculptures over the year. In the end, we went from 5 to 7, and the entire year was making the models in Italy, flying to Berkeley to work on the metal, flying back to Italy, flying back to Berkeley, and not a lot of time to do anything else. All of a sudden, here is an exhibition coming, and I have only a short time to not only finish the sculptures, but to fill the walls. And it was absolutely a panic situation because I thought, I don't have time to do both. And this is a show at Diane BorsiniBurr's gallery, and I talked to Diane about this, and she had an interesting suggestion. She said, last year, I did a couple of very small drawings as gifts that the people there would draw, and then it was a free gift. And she said, wouldn't it be a good idea, if you don't have time to do big drawings, perhaps do small drawings? As an artist, there are certain things that I find very irritating. One of them is a square format. I've never liked it, I find it static and so on. But her suggestion of the idea of a 4-inch square, I said, okay, I'll give it a try. I'll do 2 or 3. If it works, then I'll continue. What happened was, it was almost like a game that became an addiction. There's this formula, and what I usually do is I do a sketch, then I fill in the shape afterwards, so I can adjust the composition left, right, up, down. But with a 4-inch square, there's no compromise. You fit it in or you don't. So as I started, it became a challenge every day. Can I solve this problem or not solve it? In the end, here's a room full of 17 little drawings. So it just became a kind of crazy obsession. I would have 4 drawings at a time on my easel, and I would move from one to the other and see which one would finish first. And in the end, I think the results are quite interesting. On top of that, there's a couple of the drawings that I think might make nice sculptures.